You are welcome to another lesson on CSS. In this lesson, we're going to learn about margins and patterns in CSS. Understanding this lesson is going to help you understand what the box module is when we get there. Let's begin. So what is a margin? I'll first of all take you to an illustration I designed. This is going to help us understand what a margin is. When we talk of margin and padding, generally, we're talking about spaces. Anytime you hear margin or padding, just think of them as spaces, okay? Now, when you're writing, whether on your PC, you're typing, or you're writing on a book, you leave spaces. And even on PC, that's why the space bar is there. You need space everywhere. There is the need for what? Space. So when we talk of a margin, it is a space surrounding the main element. Okay, it's the space that surrounds an element border. Now you can see this illustration. This is an element and this is its border. We'll just finish learning about borders. You can see this is border. So any empty space outside here all is what we call a margin. Okay, I'll take you to another illustration. We have another illustration here. This is the margin between this and this. We have some empty space there, and that is a margin. We also have another margin here. So you can define margin for your elements. That is how distance they are spaced, okay, between objects or between elements on your web page. Let's look at another example. We have this example, and this is our main element, and we have from here to the next element, the space, that gap is is a margin. To the right, you can see this is a margin, and here a margin. So margins are outside the main object in question or the main element in question. And here you can see this space, this is margin. Enough of this. Let's go to our code editor and then explain or look at what margins are with the help of code. Let's get there. This is my code editor. I created a file called margin-padding, margin-padding.html. I also created a styling file called style.css, and I've connected them together with the help of a link tag. Now inside here, we're going to create a little box with the help of a div. So I'll simply put div. I hope by now you know what divs are. Okay, so I'll put div here, and then I'll open it up this way, and inside this div I'm going to put content there. So I'll put something like maybe p tag, put paragraph inside it, and inside this paragraph we're going to put text inside like this. So put text inside it like we have done. Now we're going to make this a box, so I'm going to target this div. Okay, so I'll take you to my styling sheet, and then I'll go ahead and put div, and then we're going to have this particular div. First of all, we're going to give it a background color so that we can see it on our web browser. So we're giving it a background color like maybe aqua, and then I'm going to assign height to it. So I'll give it a height of something like, let's put 400 pixels and see what will happen. Okay, so 400 pixels, and then I'll come down and give it a width. Okay, so give it a width of something like maybe the same 400 pixels. Okay, so let's give it the same 400 pixel like this. Good. Now let's go to our web browser and see what is happening. Now I'll take you to that file. Let's reload and see what will happen. And now you can see we have a box inside. Now right out of the box, you can see that there's some spacing here. If you cannot see it because of the color, let me change it so that it will help us a little bit to see. So I'll change this color to something like, why not changing to black? Let's just make it black so that you can see. For now we want to see. Okay, good. Let's reload. Perfect. But now we have problem with our text, so we need to also change our text color. So all we need to do is to come down, and our P, we're giving it color. Okay, so anytime you put color there, color stands for text. Okay, so color, and then we'll give it like white, like this. Good. Now you're not only learning margin and patterns, but you are learning a lot of things at the same time. Perfect. So now we have our box, which is black. Now when I reload, our text is inside it, which is also what? White. Right out of the box, this div, which is now a box, is having a default, or the browser has applied a default margin to it. You can see this spacing, and this is from the browser. Okay, and on top you can see some margin here. This is from the browser. I didn't add any margin there. When I take you back to the code editor, you can tell. When I take you back to the code editor, you can tell that I didn't add any margin. So to solve this default margin thing, we need a universal selector. So that's why on every web page, you declare or you reset. That's what we call resetting. So you reset it. Make sure you reset the default margins to 0 and the default padding to 0. Okay, but for now we're working with margins, so let's not talk of padding. So the default margin, we're going to give it 0. You can give it 0. You can also put 0 pixel. It doesn't matter. So let's put 0 pixel there. Now when we go to the web browser and reload, this space should go. Okay, and on top there, that space too should go, so that everything will be attached to the edge of our web browser. Okay, reload, and now you can see we don't have any space. Everything has been attached to the web browser. That's why browsers add default margins to it, so that people can read what is going on inside it. Okay, so that's the work of web browsers. Okay, thanks to web browsers. All right, so now we don't have any margin. On top we don't have margin, right, we don't have margin, but because this is not closer to the edge, you are not seeing that, but there's no margin here. There's 0, and here there's 0. So we're going to apply our own margin to it. Okay, so now we have reset the default margin. We're now going to add our own margin to our box. Okay, so how do we do that? We go inside our div, and that's our box. Okay, and then we're going to give it a margin like this, and then we're going to give it something like 40 or 50 pixel. Now there's something I want you to take good or closer look. When you give one value to something that has 4 sizes, something like this box, it has 4 sizes: top, right, bottom, and left, and you assign one value, this value is going to apply to all the 4 sizes. So that's something you have to bear in, you have to put in your mind, okay, as you are learning along. So this particular 4 pixel can also be written in this way. Sorry, 50 pixel can also be written in this way. So that 50 pixel is 50 pixel top, 50 pixel right, 50 pixel bottom, and 50 pixel left. So it's also the same as 50 pixel, 50 pixel, and 50 pixel. Good. So when you write this way, this is the longest format. Okay, we have 50 pixel top, right, bottom, and where left. So this is how it should be. Okay, so now when we go to the web browser, it will work fine. It will not kick an error. It's going to work fine. But writing it that way, when you give it to a developer, he or she will see it as what we call a tautology. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so, and it also a waste of time. So reload. You can see we have 50 pixel on top here, 50 pixel here, 50 pixel here, and 50 pixel down here. Okay, good. Now let's go ahead and remove the rest of the values and leave only one value. And you can see that it's going to work fine. Nothing will change. Reload and everything remains. You can see that it's working fine. Good. So when you're working with margins, paddings, borders, always take notice of this top first, followed by right, bottom, and left in a clockwise rotation. With that being said, let's go to our code editor like this. Perfect. We're going to look at other ways of writing margin or applying margin to a website. So first of all, I'll clear my margin 50 pixel. So I'll clear everything, and then we'll come down. We need some space, okay, because this is different. This is what helped us create our box. So we come down here, and then we're going to put margin, and then we're going to put top. Okay, you assign margin to only the top of your element, and then we put column and then semicolon, and inside here we're going to put something like 50 pixels top. So we put 50 px like this, and then we can also come down and put margin right. Okay, so put margin right, margin right like this, column and semicolon, and this time we'll put something like 40 or 20 pixel inside, 20 pixel. Come down again, and this time we'll put margin, so margin bottom, so margin bottom, and this time we're going to put 50 pixel, 50 pixel, and then we put, and then margin left. Okay, put left there, and this time we're going to give it 20 pixels like this, and then let's go to a web browser, reload, and now you can see to your left you have 20 pixel, and on top there we have 50 pixels. So here is actually lesser or smaller as compared to here. Okay, so now let me take you to a code editor and then explain what is happening. Our margin top is 50 and our bottom, which is the opposite side, is 50. Because of that, we're going to write a shorthand for it. Margin right, which is directly opposite to margin left, is also 20/20. That means there's a shorthand for it. Okay, so we simply come down, okay, like this, and then we just put margin, to put margin like this, and inside here margin top is 50, so let's put 50. So this 50 will apply to both top and bottom, so put 50 px. Good. Now the right and left are also the same and they are directly opposite to each other. Also put 20 pixels, so this 20 will apply to both left and right. Okay, so this is a shorthand to this whole code. All right, now let's clear everything, and then I'll clear it, send it back to the top like this, and then we'll go to our web browser, reload this page, and everything should remain. And as you can see, nothing has changed. All right, so that is margin, which is very, very simple. The space around your main element. You see this empty space, this empty space. Right, now let's talk about padding. What is padding? When we talk of a padding is just the spacing between our main content. In this case, we have text inside here, and then the main border. Okay, so in this example, we have our text inside this box. So what is a padding? A padding in CSS is a form of spacing you add to your elements. Now with this illustration, this red box represents our main content. This black line is our border. Okay, the border surrounding our content. Now this whole yellow color is what we call padding. So basically, padding is the spacing between the main content and the border of an element. Okay, so that is it. Now let's go back to our code editor. Okay, let me go ahead and then enter some text so that we have enough text inside. I'll simply copy this text. I'm going to make duplicate of it, so I'll copy it, and then what I need to do is to paste it a couple of times, copy everything to here, copy, and then paste it again and paste it again. Please, let's go ahead and wrap it. Perfect. Now let's go back to our web browser, reload this page, and as you can see, we have our text here touching the edge of our box. Okay, so to apply space, okay, something like this is not normal to have something like this, so you need space between the edge and the text. That is padding. It's as simple as that. Padding is all about the spacing between the main content, which is the text in this case, and then the border of our container. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how we can add padding to this particular text. Okay, I'll simply take you to the code editor, and then we're going to be targeting. So we'll go to CSS, and this time come here, and then we're going to put margin. Okay, so put margin, padding. So put padding, and then we can put something like 40 pixel. Then we'll go to our web browser, reload, and you can see that there is some space applied, and now we have space between our main text and our border. You can see that. So this space is 40. On top we have 40. That space between the text and the main border of the whole div, the whole container, this space is what we call padding. Okay, very, very simple. Okay, so padding is just the same as almost the same as margins, except that space is applied inside the main container, inside the main content, and not outside like we have for our margin. Okay, so padding is applied inside and margin is applied outside. Very, very simple. Okay, so let's go ahead and then talk about how to write code for our margin or paddings. Okay, so simply go to our code editor like this, and then with our padding, let's first of all clear this padding. Good. So now we're going to talk about padding top. Okay, it also uses the same rule as our margins, the top, left, right, those things. Okay, so we're going to have padding. First of all, we'll have padding top. This time we're going to give it like 50 pixel. Okay, so 50 pixel top like this. Come down and then we'll write padding right, and then we're going to give this 20 pixel to the right. Okay, so 20 pixel. We have another pattern, so it is the same as the margin. Okay, so we have another pattern button. Okay, so put pattern button, and then we have 50 pixel, so put another 50 pixel. Let's actually separate this margin thing here, so let it attach itself to this, and then we separate our pattern like this. So now we have pattern right, let's left with pattern left, so put pattern left, and the left is also 20 pixel, 20 pixel like this. Now I'll go to our web browser, reload this. You can see on top here the space in between here is bigger or larger than the space that is here, because here is 50 pixel and here is 20 pixel. Okay, just like we have here, or we had here as our what, our margin. All right, so here too is 20 and this our pattern is also at 20. On top here we have 20 as pattern, sorry, 50 as pattern and 50 as margin. Perfect. Now let's write a shorthand for our pattern, and I will say bye bye to this video. Patterns and margins are just the same. Okay, they are almost the same. So there's a shorthand for this, which is simply put pattern like this, and then because the top and bottom are the same, so the top and bottom are the same, you put one value here for both. So let's put 50 pixel top and bottom, and then because left and right two are the same, you put 20 here for the left and right, and that is it. We are done with margins and patterns. Very, very simple. So let's actually comment this code out like this, Alt Shift A, and then everything should remain as it is. Reload, and you can see that that space here and that space here is the same. Okay, so that is it. That's pattern and margin. In my next episode, we're going to learn about the box module. See you in the inside. Take care.